It's time for the Newsmaker Show on News Talk AM 1480 WLEA. Here's Kevin Doran.
Brian O'Neill in for Kevin Doran today, on with Hornell Mayor Shawn Hogan on a Tuesday. Mayor Hogan, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Mayor Hogan, I wanted to start out today's show. We want to do first local, then state, then national. We'll do local here in segment one. First off, the Alstom and Amtrak deal. What are you hearing there?
Well, obviously, the community's all abuzz about the potential of Alstom getting this Amtrak contract, which would be the state-of-the-art high-speed train contract, first ever let in this country, of this magnitude, about $2 billion. And the impact it'll have on Alstom and Hornell's future and the state and the nation's future. There's a lot of talk, a lot of buzz. I just think we'll let the situation play itself out. I think there's a lot of people busily working on the issue, and when it's time for an announcement to be made, there will be an announcement made. But I don't anticipate that happening, until the end of this month or even into October. Even then, there's a lot of logistics to be worked out, a lot of things that have to happen that are outside our control and are outside Alstom's control. So, I think spirits are high and the optimism is great. We just have to be patient and let the situation play itself out.
One Alstom worker said to me that he thought that the population of the area might get a little bit bigger.
Well, I think it may, and I think that, I think as other areas of the nation experience water problems and drought and, wildfires of great magnitude, that people will look for an area to live that has low crime, has a great amount of natural resources, and doesn't have some of the issues other areas have. They're highly populated. So I'm looking not just if Alstom is successful, but with other companies and other issues taking place, that the population will grow. But there's one thing we have to accomplish before we can grow too much. We have to have some adequate housing here. For far too long, the city has been fighting the battle, a lone wolf battle, of trying to keep our neighborhoods strong and protect them from unscrupulous landlords and irresponsible tenants. For the most part, it's you take one step forward and two steps back. So we really need to work with the state and with other agencies, the Chamber of Commerce, the IDA, and private developers to develop adequate housing here if we are going to grow in the way we all hope we're going to grow. Hornell has been a well-kept secret. We've been ranked the number 4 most affordable community in the state of New York, and number 7 nationally is the most livable community in a lot of these studies that have taken place. So we have a lot to be proud of, but we have a lot to work on, particularly our housing needs and stronger neighborhoods. And we'll continue to do that at least as long as I'm mayor. And hopefully we'll address some of those issues. But everything is very positive, and I don't want to be negative. I don't believe in negativity, but we do have some issues we have to address, and they will be addressed. And I think Hornell has a tremendous amount. Our region has a tremendous amount of potential.
You talk about housing in Hornell. Hornellsville, at their last meeting, they mentioned that they were interested in getting going on housing in case the Alstom Amtrak contract goes through. Wondering, do any locations stand out in your mind that could be possibly worked on for some nice new housing in Hornell? What
you have to do, and we've never done it right around here, you have to find a developer that understands the subdivision laws of the state of New York, that's going to come in and make an investment, put in the infrastructure and the streets and the lights, under the New York State subdivision laws, and then sell off lots. I mean, have a model home and sell off lots as it develops. There is going to be a higher cost to develop them like that, but you're going to have a better product, and you're going to have a more secure development where people want to live. You know, what we've done here in the past is that we'll hodgepodge a couple of houses together in some area where someone's selling off lots, but they don't end up developing the infrastructure to serve anymore, or they'll only sell off 4 lots, because once you sell off 5, you have to do the subdivision situation. And and we've had a problem with that here. There's more to housing development than meets the eye, and it's not just selling 1 lot or 2 lot. It's developing a major project. So that's why I think we have to, wherever it's going to happen, has to be done right, and it has to be done in the New York State subdivision laws.
St. James, any thoughts on the St. James situation? I know that on Monday's press call, Congressman Tom Reed said he's only hearing good things about the way things are going at St. James at the moment.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of good things happening at St. James. I mean, the average daily census is, we have a lot of patients at the hospital. They're running between 10 and 12, which is great. A couple weeks ago they had 14 inpatients, which is great. People have to use the services, which is wonderful. But it's an ongoing struggle. I mean, we have to make sure we have the professional staffing on staff, whether it be doctors or nurses, and we're working on that. There's all kinds of things in flux, but I can tell you, from where we were to where we are, we're worlds away from where we were, and we're moving in the right direction, and all is positive. Dr. Ray Mashewski, who was our medical director, Patty Murray, who was assisting our interim nursing director, have made great strides. The administration is moving, had to move mountains to get where we are today. So everyone certainly deserves a round of applause, but we still have a lot of work to do, and we have to rebuild a business culture and rebuild business at St. James, which was allowed to be lost over the last 6 or 7 years. And nor makes a hospital sustainable is not just inpatients and med-surg patients, but people using the services that go along with the hospital. So, if people want a hometown hospital, which that's all I heard about for months and months and months, and caused me many sleepless nights trying to protect it. And now that we've had it, just because, don't sit back on your haunches now and let someone else do it. You all have a responsibility to support the hospital. I'm talking about not just Hornell residents, but the entire region has a responsibility and obligation to support the hospital in any way they can. And that's what's going to ensure the positive growth and the peace of mind knowing that we have quality health care offerings here in the Canisteo Valley.
And isn't it easier to drive to St. James than to drive a half hour or 45 minutes somewhere else?
So you better believe it.
Talking with Hornell Mayor Shawn Hogan. Mayor Hogan, last winter was pretty rough on the streets. You had some ideas that you're implementing on fixing them up?
Yeah, we're making great progress. Our only problem is scheduling and weather. Blades was scheduled to come in and pave streets that we milled several weeks ago. They were both scheduled to come in last Saturday. We all know that last Saturday was a washout. So we have to hope the weather cooperates, and we continue to do our streets, or streets that are in most need. We're not going to get to all of them this year, but our patching crew has been out, and they've been getting accolades for the job they're doing, filling the potholes and whatever. So I think the rideability of our streets is much improved, and it's going to be better. But we've got right now we've got Mill Street open, we've got part of Canasteel Street open, and Pleasant Street open. Fairview Avenue is open. We got to get those paved. Hopefully, we'll get them paved this weekend. And we have to. There was a problem with Ravine Street that was paved, but the profile of the pavement was off, so that had to be remilled up. And we're waiting to work out a solution with blades on that one. So there's an issue that we have to address. So we're working on that, and so there's going to be more streets paved before the snow flies, and we'll be paving right through probably early November, and we just have to hope the weather cooperates. So when we can get them in the AL blades in here, that they can get to the streets and pave them, and we can move on to the next. The problem is AL Blades only has 2 paving crews, and they got big contracts on the state highways, and that leaves our smaller communities at the mercy of their schedule, and that's an issue. I hope that AL Blades or Domolite, the parent corp, will work to address next year, because we really need to we've got money to spend, and we've got streets to be improved, and we're hoping that next year that we can do a lot more of the streets that need to be done in a timely fashion.
Another big infrastructure issue, water treatment and water filters. What's the latest there?
Well, we're working the phase 2 of the water treatment plant on Park Drive. That's begun. We finished the fine bubble aeration in our aeration basins, and that's working to a T and saving us many, many thousands of dollars of electric costs. That was an energy-saving project. Now we are removing the sand at the sand filter building and doing some necessary repairs, and then replacing it with new sand filter, new elements, sand elements there, our aggregate, and then we have a study going on with our digester, which we're hoping that the study will recommend that we start taking organic solids, from our dairy plants in the region, and turn that into methane gas, which is then be turned into to generate electrical power, and we can become self-sustaining at the plant, and also sell some electricity to the grid. We're hoping that we have a good study, and that it reflects the moving in that direction. So we're trying to be energy efficient and green, and try to do right things as project comes up. So there's that. We just submitted an application on September 4th to environmental facilities. It's for over $6 million improvements to our water filter plant, our water treatment plant up outside the city, and that's to clarify, to put in a new storage tank, build a redundant storage tank, the new clarifier, automate the system, make some improvements to our dams at the reservoirs. It's about $6 million worth of proposed work, and if we're successful, we'll get a $2 million grant and a $4 million no interest loan. So we're hoping we're successful. But the one rub there is, and I think that everyone has to know this, is that capital projects aren't exempt from the tax cap, and our tax cap, because of the low rate of inflation, is no longer 2%. It's 0.73%, and projected to go lower, as low as 0.56%, which is well below 2%. But because these capital projects aren't exempt from the cap, a lot of communities aren't doing capital projects, and it's yet to be seen. Even if we're successful getting $2 million outright grant, a $4 million no-interest loan still requires a debt service, and that's not exempt from the tax cap. So whatever we pay hurts us on the tax cap thing. So a lot of communities are not even considering capital projects, which hurts the construction industry because of that provision in the tax cap. I reached out to the Governor's Secretary, Bill Mulrow, and expressed our concern, as well as NICOM, because if municipalities can't do capital projects, the infrastructure will continue to deteriorate. So that's a big issue. And so we're hoping that there's some fix to that here in the upcoming legislative session.
Wanted to ask one more question on a local issue. The Department of Transportation's work on Route 36 and streets connected to it. How's that been going? Do you get any updates from the DOT?
Well, yeah, that's going well. Obviously, they've got a huge job, and of making the Maple City Drive more rideable, if I could use that term. A smoother ride throughout the city, and that job's scheduled to be complete, I think, in November. So they have several months more work to go, and so far so good. We haven't had too many problems. There are some detoured streets now with Cass Street and Elm Street closed off, but I don't anticipate that to be much of a problem in the short term.
We're talking with Hornell Mayor Shawn Hogan. We covered local issues here in segment 1. Going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll cover state and national issues. Stay with us. Back on the Newsmaker Show, Brian O'Neill in today for Kevin Doran. Mayor Hogan, starting out with state issues, a couple of state issues I wanted to touch off on here. Starting out with the minimum wage, Governor Cuomo wants a $15 minimum wage. What do you think of that? Well,
I think if it was universal, and I know that he's gone from the fast food workers now saying everyone should have $15 an hour minimum wage. I think if everyone was subject to it, I think it would be, I think it would be difficult for some people to manage it. The not-for-profits here. I mean, it's hard for me to say because local governments are not subject to it. We're not subject to the minimum wage laws, so we continue to pay our kids, even though we're subject to the federal minimum wage, which is still $7.25 an hour. The state has raised theirs to about $9 across the board, over the next couple of years. We're not subject to that, but places like the YMCA are, and other not-for-profits are subject to it, and smaller businesses. And, I think they do struggle because the part of their businesses are the number of people. But I think we have to come together as a nation and as a community and decide what is a livable wage. Is it $10 an hour? Is it $12 an hour? Is it $15 an hour? I don't know. $15 an hour may be a little bit high, but we must have a livable wage. We know that people struggle, and every time you have a wage structure where it's more invitations for people to sit home and stay on, and because if they make a little bit of money, they're going to lose benefits. They lose their subsidies for food stamps, or they lose their Medicaid. That system is backwards. If we paid everybody a livable wage, and we wouldn't need to have to subsidize so many people, and incentivize the fact of going to work. I don't know if that'll ever happen. There seems to be, one side so entrenched against any movement, the other side may be a little bit aggressive. I think we should come together and find a happy medium, and never determine as a nation where minimum wage should be, and then demand that it be fixed. And I think it should be taken out of the hands of politicians, because they're never going to come to a decision on anything. And that's the problem with this country today. They're so polarized. You got so many right-wing people that are opposed to it, and then you got on the left, you have that maybe are being a little overzealous. I don't know, but maybe form a national commission of educators, college, university people, business owners, and have them make a recommendation on the living wage that's binding on everybody, and then present it to the Congress with something they must accept. Because, like I say, based on what's going on today and the political atmosphere in Washington today, or even in Albany, it's not going to get done to the thing. And that's what Cuomo did with the executive order in the Labor Department. You know, they had to pick some industry, pick the fast food industry, and whether it should be 15 or 12, you know, let someone else decide that. But it got it done. It left to the design of the legislature, it wouldn't have gotten done. So take that model and use it nationally, and come up with and decide a national panel to decide what the living wage is nationally, and we solve a lot of our problems.
Mayor Hogan, another state issue I wanted to ask you about is Common Core. The governor announced recently that he wants to have a new panel look into Common Core. Are you hearing anything on what the possible changes could be, or if there will be any? Are you hearing anything on this Common Core panel from your sources?
About what happened in New York State and other states, it's not so much Common Core. Common Core basically is a different set of program that makes you look at things differently. It develops more analytical minds. You know, whether you hear about STEM, you know, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, and trying to develop those analytical minds that would, you know, kind of promote the STEM philosophy of learning, that the future for our children is in science, technology, engineering, and math, to promote entrepreneurship and things of that nature, which is all good. I think where we run into the rub is how the state education department ramped it up and implemented it without the proper,
The rollout was bad.
Yeah, the rollout was bad. Without the proper educating the parents, educating the teachers, bringing them on board, and making sure that everyone was familiar with what they're trying to accomplish with this Common Core. To say it's all bad is I think is short-sighted. To say, well, it's all good. I think it can be a good program if cooler heads, calmer heads prevailed, and they back up and start over again with implementation of the program. Just to say no, it's no good and whatever, I don't think it's the way to go. And I don't know about all this testing and who this and who should be doing what, and there's a lot of social issues that shouldn't be laid on the teachers. Well, what we have to develop is a culture of responsibility in the homes. Have adults spend time with their children, spend time reading to their children. Unfortunately, you can't legislate good parenting skills. So, that's where the government has to come in and say, and they accept that burden to try to give those kids who come from those type of households an equal opportunity and a chance.
Moving on to national issues, Mayor Hogan, Hillary Clinton's emails in her server, it doesn't seem to be hurting her a lot in the polls. What do you think that anyone in the federal government will stop her from campaigning? Because it doesn't seem like her popularity is going to be brought down completely by as far as the general public goes.
General public goes. I don't know. I don't know what to determine. Obviously, it was an error in judgment to have government email and her private email on the same server. Everyone's losing sight of the fact, though, it wasn't illegal. It was allowed, and certainly the government knew about it. And she's a much more intelligent woman than to do any security breaches with the email system. So, although I think it's much to do about nothing, I think the media has jumped on it, and her opponent, 100 understandably, you know who's jumped on it? The Republicans, basically. Her Democratic opponents don't ever mention it. You don't hear Bernie Sanders harping at it.
No, and Joe Biden doesn't talk about it.
And Joe Biden doesn't talk about it, or Martin O'Malley, he doesn't talk about it. So it's certainly they've made it a political issue, and the media seems to just love issues like that and hammer at it, and hammer at it, and hammer at it. So it has done some damage to her, and I think who advises Hillary or who doesn't advise Hillary. I think the apology was a good thing, but what is she apologizing for? When she was doing this, it was legal. Just come out. Don't play cutesy with the press or coy. Address the issue head on when it came out, and just say, "Listen, it was legal. I've turned my everything over to the FBI," which she has. And there've been no charges against her. There has been nothing, even though the New York Times likes to continue to hammer at it. There's nothing. The Washington Post, of course, there's nothing there. And but as long as people perceive there's something there, there's something there. So it's not an issue as far as I'm concerned. Many other people, but I'm sure it will have some impact.
Final question, and we're just down to 60 seconds. Your thoughts on the rise of Donald Trump?
I don't have too many thoughts on that, to tell you the truth. I'm not a particular big fan of Donald Trump. I don't think he's said anything about any issues. Doesn't have any concrete plans or suggestions. It's all about I, me. I'm wonderful, and the other guys are foul balls. Vote for me. And I don't think that's very good for America.
Mayor Shawn Hogan learned a lot today. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Bye.